We are back here. We have Erin King with us. Yes.
Giggle Palooza. Just get ready for it.
Yes.
Erin, welcome.
Thank you.
This is a huge honor to have you as our closing keynote
Yes.
speaker for all of WeCon. Erin is one of the top global speakers, not just in our industry, but all of the speakers that you could ever
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
We've got her today, and we're really honored to have you. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mandy, for trusting me with this incredible MPI tribe. The energy is off the charts out here in the desert. And I mean, I've already had chills 3 times talking to different meeting professionals around this entire venue. So thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you share with us a little bit, just to give us a little tease in terms of what we're going to be hearing from you today and what we can look forward to in about an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh. Little teaser. Well, we're going to be talking all about how you can unlock what I like to call your big deal energy. Your BDE, big deal energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Louder for the people in
Deal.
the back.
I mean, it's a fun phrase, but truthfully, I think a lot of us the last 2 and 3 years, because of small global circumstances and just the general energy right now, politically, professionally, we have AI is now taking over the world and post-pandemic, social media is still wild. Just a heavy time. There's a lot going on. And I think for a lot of us, even the most confident, self-assured, can I say badass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Badass versions of ourselves, even those of us who have always sort of really stood in our power and done a pretty good job of being like, okay, I think I have this. Even we are getting a little shaken off of our axis. And so I think in times like that, you really are kind of facing 2 roads. I mean, one road is you can just say, well, let's see what happens. Hold on tight, fingers crossed. But I think we've sort of been in that mode long enough where most people are looking at the second road. And that second road is, how do I become a little more intentional around how I be more proactive to really reclaim that essence of who I am when I feel like a big darn deal. And so that's our talk today is stories, strategies, and most importantly, some classic blocks that really hold us back from stepping into that core of our power.
So I know the audience today live is lucky to hear all of this, but for the people that are tuned in at home right now, can you share what are some of those classic blocks that
Yeah.
prevent people from unlocking their BD?
Yes. Well, if I may hold your cell phone for a moment.
Yes, hold it.
Friends at home, it starts right here. So in the chat, do we have a live chat here?
Yeah.
So in the chat, go ahead and give me a rating on a scale from 1 to 5. Okay. 5 being you're better than everyone else and you have mastered your relationship with this device. And 1 being, I don't know that I have a very healthy relationship with my inputs from this screen and how it's ultimately impacting our outputs every single day as humans, personally and professionally. And when you put in the chat 1 through 5, you'll begin to see that we're not alone in this feeling of unintentionally going down the scroll hole, comparing our lives to other people's highlight reel. And we know this in our heads, but energetically, it chips away at our big deal energy. You may have woken up this morning. It's Friday, summer's on the horizon. Everyone's excited for what's ahead. And maybe you kind of had a great morning. You worked out, you called mom, you cleaned the house, bills got paid, whatever. And then you opened up this device. And 2 scrolls later, you're like, she's in Italy again? Like, who is funding this? Can she adopt me? Like, what is happening? But you connect it and you go, what do we do? We'll go, our physicality gets smaller and it robs that little moment of joy for us. And then that carries with us into the next meeting, into the next interaction. And it's this not enoughness, this less than epidemic that really does start with being more intentional here. Now, look, I ran a social media agency for 10 years. Mandy, you are a social media ninja. You know the love-hate relationship.
I learned from the best. I read her book, Digital Persuasion.
It's not even a love-hate relationship. It's more like a tolerate-hate relationship. Like you tolerate it and you hate it. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
But so I'm not claiming to have mastered it. I certainly have not. But we do need to define the relationship we want to have with how we frame it. So simple step, if you're at home and we have some people coming in the chat, we have
It's
3.
threes,
So
2
3. threes. Okay,
Yeah.
2 and 3. So one very quick hack that you can use right now at the end of this broadcast, like you're going to jump off this and you're going to do it right away, is a little exercise I like to call the bless and block.
Oh,
Okay. Now,
okay.
the bless and block
I'm pulling
is
up my Instagram now.
the
Go
bless
ahead.
and block. Okay, let's do it.
Mine-
Pull it up. Pull it up.
Yes.
So here we go.
Yes.
The
So you
live
give,
lesson block. Here we
so
go.
you give a couple scrolls
Yes.
and you just pay attention to how the individuals that are in your news feed are making you feel. Now, I am not giving you the worst advice on planet Earth, which is never compare yourself. That is not going to happen. We are human beings. Let's
Mhm.
keep it real. And if you figured out, again, we salute you for being better than all of us. But most of us are going to compare on some level.
Yes.
Here is the difference I want you to pay attention to. There is a big difference between unhealthy comparison, why not me? I'm not good at this. I'm not enough. That draining on your battery source and a little healthy competition. A little healthy competition says, well, he can do it. Maybe I can do it. She's done it. Maybe I could try it. So determining, is this unhealthy comparison or a little healthy competition? And if it's the former, we bless and block. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to judge it. We don't have to analyze it, but we do have to manage it. And that is the first key. It's just bless and block. We send you off with love. Good job on your journey. Wish you well. Unfollow. Move on.
So powerful.
Yeah. And then for the people that are your healthy competition, I tell them, I have like 3 or 4 gals in my orbit right now. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I see you. And when I see you out there and you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me feel so excited about the possibility that maybe it could be for me too. So I want you to know I'm chasing you and cheering you on.
Okay.
But-
Bless and block.
Mike.
Bless and block.
Yeah.
Root them on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to bless and block somebody.
Okay, there's one.
So money just block.
We got that block button in full effect. Go ahead.
So something you did after the pandemic, you called the pandemic the poundemic, which I thought was
That's real talk.
hilarious.
That's real talk.
So for all of us, I think we're all experiencing that coming out. So, and I see you on social media. Also, if you're not following Erin, you have to. It's
Yes.
Miss Erin King. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Erin King.
Immediately.
Immediately follow right away because it's a good follow and you learn a lot. But something that you did, I see you're hiking, you're working out. Can you just talk about what your journey of the pandemic looks like today versus before? Because I think that's something we all can get some help with.
Okay, how much time do we have? This is
We
my
got a little
favorite topic. Okay, so the poundemic, for those of you who are not familiar at home, is what we called in our house a certain period of time where we were eating our feelings. We had a lot of heavy things happen, as you probably did, as each of you probably did.
Yeah.
It seemed like 10 years of what could really weigh us down sort of happened in this very condensed period of time. And so we have always been a very body positive house. We have always been a very thank you, God, for our health, focus on what we do have. But there have been habits that formed for a lot of us. And the pandemic is the example of like a broader way of living. We all know that at the basis of being a high performing individual, you don't feel good, you can't do good. You don't look good, you can't do. You have to feel good in your skin. You have to feel ready physically for the challenges of the day. And so it's really just this idea of looking at which habits are you leaning into that are just something that you formed to cope, and can you replace just one of them? So full circle, landing the plane for us. What it was I have always been someone who has moved every single day. Well, I was swapping out the hikes and the sweating for the Netflix. We got our very first television that had a big screen, big fancy screen, and we started watching the shows. And so every time I went to put on a show, instead of a show, I went for a walk. And this was 2 years ago. So I'm not weighing myself, but I just know that my clothes fit, my energy's up. And if you're someone in the meetings industry, we are servants. We are in a service industry. And if you don't have the energy, you don't have the patience pants, you don't have the creativity, you don't have the clarity, we can't show up and step into the version of ourselves that, first of all, we know we should be, we know we can be, and we know that our clients need us to be.
Truth.
Yeah.
So So true.
What
You know?
what have you noticed as you go out and you're doing events between the difference in how the audiences engage you compared to 2 years ago compared to today? What differences have you noticed? What trends have you observed? What do you see?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So I also come from the meetings industry. That's how I became a keynote speaker. Was my agency ran social media for live events, so associations, conferences. One of the social media speakers missed her flight, so they were like, "We have a packed breakout room. Can you go talk about what you do for us?" I
Oh,
went into the bathroom. I had just live tweeted Amy Cuddy's presence performance keynote at the Sands Expo, and I did my Amy Cuddy power pose
yes,
in the
yes.
mirror,
Hmm.
and I was like sweating. I was so nervous. Went up there. I have no idea what happened, but that's how my career began as a keynote speaker. But what I've noticed in the evolution from that was maybe 6, 7 years ago versus to your question 2 years ago, fast forward to today. And what I think is really good for us in this space, job security, is that people cannot get enough in person
Yeah.
time. They cannot get enough
Yeah.
face to face.
Hmm.
I know that is a record we've been playing for the last year, but it is the truth. Energetically, I think the difference is that the audiences that I'm speaking to, and I work with, hospitality, real estate,
Hmm.
finance. I do a lot of network marketing companies. You name it. There's one thing, doesn't matter if it's an older demographic, younger, if it's more legacy, if it's more startup. The truth is this: people are a lot more vulnerable and fragile than they used to be. From what we're all still healing from, I think. And so there's a gentleness that I think as planners and as professionals and as guides that are trusted with these audiences, we have to be super cognizant that the more of the more and the hustle and the hype and the go and the we just people's tanks don't have that kind of gas in it
Yeah.
anymore. And so there's this truly radically empathetic energy that I think is the through line for the meetings for now and in the future.
Awesome. All
I
right.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And
You
I think
know?
it's a good reminder, everybody. Empathy, a little empathy goes a long way.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Great.
Yeah,
that's
well
true.
said.
So we've got about an hour and a half till we see you on stage for the
Yay.
final keynote. So we'll let you kind of get ready, get prepared. But thank you very much for spending some time with us today. We can't wait to see you for the whole talk. I can't wait. I'm gonna have my notebook. I gotta find my notebook. Get my notebook
Get
ready.
your notebook.
Thanks, Amani.
Monty takes a lot of notes.
Yes,
Get
get
your
my
notebook.
notebook.
Amani,
Yes.
he's unfollowing everyone on Instagram.
Yes.
He's following one person
Bless
by the end
and
of it.
block. Bless and block.
By the way, find and replace. Once you
Okay,
bless and
that's
block,
good.
then
Yes,
you want to
yes.
also replenish.
Okay.
I prefer just mindless puppy videos personally. But if you can find a thought leader that fires you up and pumps you
Yes.
up, this is a good one to follow as well. Make sure that you do invite more of that goodness
Yes.
because social media is not inherently good or evil. It depends on how you
Yes.
decide to use it,
Agreed.
right?
Right.
So
Yes.
seek out what you want to be more of in the world.
Awesome.
Awesome. And then, really quick before you go, a couple ways we can support you. So, Digital Persuasion is one of Erin's books.
Yes.
Tell us more. How
Yeah.
else can we support you, and how can everybody find you?
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Digital persuasion, as you know, is all about how you can get more yes, online, offline, all the time. It's
Mhm.
about typing more like we talk. It's about elevating your ability to influence and attract the right kind of clients. And the evolution of the book in the last 6 months has really been how do we better co create in the age of, say it again, Chat GPT and AI.
Go AI.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
insane. And, I have a digital marketing agency, as you know, Strike Point Media. And we have been experimenting with all of these incredible AI tools. And it is truly mind blowing. The headline is this, though it's about delegating lower level thinking to AI so that we can double down on what only we can do,
Right.
which is that emotional intelligence, doubling down on that radical humanity, curiosity, empathy, all the abilities that we have that they will never have. And so being really cognizant that this is not about us being replaced, but about us being enhanced.
Mhm.
And how we think about that is at the core of my digital persuasion keynote right now. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
find me on Instagram.
find her on
Yes.
Instagram, book her for your next meeting, see her on stage at 2 o'clock in the Mesquite Ballroom. And thanks for being here.
Thanks,
We
Nancy.
love you. You're
Love
the
you too,
best.
girl. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Thanks,
Yes,
Amani.
thanks
We'll
for
be
being
back
here.
soon with
See you
our
guys
next
soon.
guest.